I am currently on hiatus for the winter break, but I didn't want to leave you hanging and make sure you have some great episodes to listen to until I return in mid January. So let's go back in time into the Coffee with Yvonne time capsule to listen to these interviews from some of my favorite creatives and entrepreneurs changing the game. So grab your coffee and let's chat. All right, everyone. So, as I mentioned, I have with me today one of my other favorite industry people. And I know I say that a lot because everyone's my favorite, but it's genuine in different ways. But Maurisa is joining me today so we can have a real chat about marketing and PR so you guys can finally understand how we work together, but we are not the same. Okay, we're going to read her bio, and it's a good one in my broadcaster voice. All right. Maurisa is the founder and CEO of Spotted MP and has over 25 years of professional marketing, communications, and event experience. Founded in 2008, Spotted MP is a Virginia certified small, women, and minority owned boutique marketing firm that provides distinctive and innovative strategies that deliver impact, branding, and build growth. Maurisa is known for her mission driven work, ethic, creativity, and expertise to deliver results to loyal firm clients. Her areas of focus include economic development, retail hospitality, real estate, lifestyle, and nonprofits. She's orchestrated work for a variety of local and national businesses within those industries. Maurisa is experienced in all facets of marketing, communications, and event development, from concept shaping to planning to execution. Some of her clients, like I said, she has receipts, is the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Whitman Walker Health, Tyson's Corner Center, one of my favorite malls, Old Town Boutique District, and the National Council on Aging, to name a few. Although well known and highly respected in the industry and region for her signature style, tenacity, and creativity, the quality Maurisa is best known for is her strategic business savvy. Prior to starting Spotted MP, she worked for several companies in the Washington, D.C. region, such as being the marketing and communications director for the Crystal City Business Improvement District. That's a bid for those of you who don't know. And it's now known as National Landing, where Amazon is going to build their headquarters. And the technology company, MicroStrategy, global law firm, Reed Smith, and former global accounting firm, Arthur Anderson. And with that, welcome to Coffee with Yvonne Maurisa. Hi.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm blushing. I'm just blushing. I'm usually used to being on the other side of giving someone else flowers. So thank you.
No, you deserve all your flowers. And when I was reading your bio earlier, some of the things you've worked on, like the Crystal City bid, I'm very familiar with, working formally in tourism marketing for 5 years. And I know the work that went behind getting people to pay attention to Crystal City, because everyone knows Pentagon City area, but they forget Crystal City is right there next to that main region. So we've seen their development, but to see Crystal City really blossom in terms of art, restaurants, and experiences has just been wonderful to see for the revitalization of that area.
I have to share. I completely agree, and I have to share a funny real quick about Crystal City when you talk about how it's revitalized and the image that they had. When I decided to leave one of my great global law firms to go and help launch the Crystal City bid and be their first director of marketing and communications, my managing partner at the global law firm, who I love dearly, and just was amazing man. When I said I'm going to leave to go try this thing and help build an area from scratch, and he looked at me when I said, where? He goes, where are you going? And I said, Crystal City. And you would have thought that I said I was gonna, I don't know, open a porta potty business. I don't know, it was just kind of like he had this very strange look on his face. I love porta, plus me, I put nothing wrong with porta, but he just had this look of concern as to why are you leaving for a place that has no soul and no heart, and it was known as the concrete government jungle back then. And I said, I love things that you can build from scratch and see where it goes. So fast forward, who would have thought where it is now that we now have Amazon HQ2 and Virginia Tech Innovation Campus coming online there. So, but I have to share that story because he thought I had lost my mind that I was leaving to go to
I
this
mean,
place.
but it's important though to take risk with your career too, because I know I totally relate to that in my former tourism marketing life, working at National Harbor in the marketing department. We our tourism division was built from scratch. So it was just myself and my director at the time. Hi, Josh, if you're listening, I still love you. So we were building something from scratch, going to all these different trade shows and, figuring out the voice for National Harbor through these various channels. So I get it completely. But sometimes it's good to do that because when you put your stamp on it, no one can deny your brilliance behind what comes from that work. So totally get it.
Absolutely. I had a saying when it came to Crystal City, and it was, people kind of was like looking at me with three heads. I just said the goods are odd, but the odds are good in terms of that place. And the goods were odd, back then. This is what, 15 years ago, and beyond. So so the goods were definitely odd then, but look at it now.
Yeah, and it's very good to know because you bring that professional experience from both a PR and also a marketing background of knowing how to build a voice for an area that did not have a voice. And we can definitely talk more about this offline, but it's good for people to understand that when you have these spaces where you're building a community, you have to give that community an identity. If it doesn't have an identity, it's just soulless. And people can feel that when they walk into a place that it doesn't have a soul, So you took your heart for your industry and you put it into a place that needed heart. So yeah, just giving you your flowers.
Well, thank you.
You're
Blushing,
welcome.
blushing, blushing.
You should be blushing, blushing, blushing. And Maurisa, the title of this episode is appropriately and a little bit sarcastically called Forever BFFs, PR and Marketing. For those who don't know, the two industries work together. Like I said, they're sisters, but they're not twins. But they're not the same. Can you please share exactly what is public relations and what services a PR professional provides? Go.
Absolutely. We are certain BFS. And how I like to kind of dumb it down for folks is that marketing is a process. It is a ongoing strategic process. Public relations is a tool that can be utilized within the marketing process. And with marketing, as you know, there's various what I call pillars within the marketing brand of tools. So you've got PR, you've got communications, you've got social media, you've got all the things, right, that fall under the marketing umbrella. Well, public relations is a spoke in that in that area. And the other way to describe it, I'm a member of Public Relations Society of America, and how we simplify it is that it is a strategic communication process that involves maintaining your public image and reputation and telling the stories out there that are newsworthy to a variety of outlets. So, and public relations consist of a variety of different things, from your straight hard news that you see every day and on TV or in papers or in magazines, to press events. You see those red carpet and also non-red carpet press events, more of the serious, press media things, to community relations and dealing with media professionals, to media relations as well. So and also one main thing that I'm completely forgetting is crisis management. I think we have all lived through crisis PR these past 2.5 years. And I've certainly have been in the seat and telling the stories of how my clients have been affected with the pandemic, and delivering that through crisis communication. So again, it is a tool that can be utilized as part of the overall marketing process.
And you're absolutely right. I think people forget it's a tool and it's not something that you should add a PR professional when you are in crisis. It's not recommended because a lot of times they have to come in and kind of work backwards to figure out, okay, how can we retool this message to make you not look like a jerk, but look like, but look, come out with a better outcome. So I always try to recommend to people in, my industry or related industries, hey, PR is not there to threaten your job. They're there to
Yeah,
work with you day in and day out. You have to be in constant communication with your PR person because if it hits the fan on social media, dial up your PR person like, hey, just letting you know that tweet, we did not plan on it going viral, but it went viral. So I need you to kind of control this message on other outlets. And that's just kind of how
absolutely.
I think about it,
Well, absolutely. I'll tell you, for example, there's two things that because I do a lot of teaching, obviously, in this realm. And, for those that are rising communication PR professionals, I tell them to look at the news. And if you see a major headline that's, going viral or what have you, look at how they handle it from a crisis and PR standpoint. Um, my favorite football team, the Washington football team / Commanders ? That's a perfect example in terms of crisis. They're always in crisis, and they'll never, they don't really work lockstep with whoever their PR people are. But you can really see and learn a lot on how businesses and entities navigate when they have a crisis and how they can navigate flawlessly or fail miserably at it. And then another example is the whole Will Smith incident. The very first person I thought of when he slapped was the PR person for Will Smith, because now she had a lot of work to do. She had a lot of work to do. That is where my brain comes. I said, uh-oh, girlfriend has damage control going on right now.
I thought about her and I thought about his marketing team. I said, okay, first things first, shut off all the comments on social media, take a pause and a step back until you guys can regroup, X, Y, and Z. But that was the first thought that went through my mind too. Like, it's time to go. Crisis plan,
Yes. When you see your PR rep immediately stand up out of their chair, or if you see anybody like that when something hits the fan, yes. You've got a problem.
You're right, Maurisa, because more often, outside of Will Smith, but when people start a business, they realize they need help down the road promoting their business through strategic marketing or PR. Do you think people undervalue the knowledge industry professionals like us bring to the table when they're building their business?
Absolutely. And honestly, I don't want to say it's a positive of COVID, but yes, I will say in the past, people thought of PR marketing as an afterthought, or we would come in at the very bitter end when they realized they've done all this work on the business and operational side, and then they realize, oh, we need to promote our shiny thing, and then they call someone like me or call someone like you, to help with the marketing piece. And usually by that time, it's really too late, or they've short-sighted themselves in losing a lot of opportunity or a lot of runway on all the great marketing and PR things they could have taken advantage of. So, to have businesses understand that marketing and PR is an investment, first of all, not an expense. And I think that's where the disconnect is, where they're like, oh, now I need to promote all this stuff, but I don't have the money, or what, it literally has been an afterthought. So really, as business owners, and I've seen a dramatic shift now, especially during the pandemic, and it could be, making lemonade out of lemonade or shiny thing, that there are organizations and small businesses that marketing and PR have a seat at the table from the beginning when they're building their business, or if they're doing strategic planning for their business. And that is wonderful for folks like us to hear, where it's not an afterthought. We have a seat at the table from day one.
And what are some ways that people or businesses can really think about the value marketing brings? So for example, when I'm pulling together like a marketing report, I'm looking at if it's just about content, social media impressions, the number of shares, the reach, etc., to kind of show, okay, this is the impact the content has had on your digital audience, or when we're running a campaign, this is the campaign reach, how many click-throughs, etc. So what are some of the numbers that PR pulls to show the value of what you're bringing to the table?
Sure. So I always say PR increases brand credibility, right? So it's different from advertising, which is a piece of overall marketing where you are promoting yourself, me. It's like I like to say, for folks when people get confused between different advertising and PR, quite frankly. But PR is you have a credible outlet or a credible news outlet that is saying something about you. There's TV, broadcast, or newspaper, a food editor, for example, or a fashion editor or a lifestyle editor that is thoroughly writing a great or sometimes great or a story on you. That helps increase your brand credibility. So there is a value there. For example, if you get a rock star piece in the New York Times for whatever you're doing that has a huge reach and huge audience. That is some of the metrics, for example, that we track. And we do have metrics. I do have metrics on what the reach is depending upon the media outlet and the frequency of your story being shown. Locally here, for example, like an NBC Washington or Fox DC, if they're showing your feature of your story multiple times, running it multiple times, well, that is a huge value, and you can't buy that value from an advertising standpoint, right? Because if you take if you take a 30-second ad on NBC, it's going to cost you a lot more than the story that just ran 10 times in their news headlines. So we have metrics that track based upon the size of the news outlet, whether it's a local or a national or international, what those are, the ROI, the return on investment is.
And that makes sense, because I understand that, but I know a lot of people who don't understand what we do sometimes undercut their budgets for a PR or a marketing professional because they think this stuff you can do for free a lot of times. But your industry is mainly built on relationships, like
Yes.
knowing the right people in those newsrooms to run the story for your clients. And then on my side of the table, it's knowing how to strategically place those advertisements or what sources we should be looking at for those content partnerships to help increase the reach of that messaging. And really, Maurisa, when you're looking for, like, a business is looking to hire PR help, I know sometimes people can put on their bio that they are professionals in our industry, but a lot of times they're not. But what recommendations would you give someone? I'm trying not to be shady, but
No,
what recommendations
absolutely.
would you give someone to make sure they're hiring the right people for their team?
Sure, absolutely. There's two tracks I like to take for that. One is to don't be shy in asking for references of your clients. And I know that sounds, very simple, but there's only so much I can say, and talking about my experience and all the things that I can do on behalf of them. I like to put my clients out first and say and ask them, here, speak to the CEO of Whitman Walker Health or Tyson's Corner Center or what have you, and have them be your ambassador and your champion for your body of work. That is very helpful to validate credibility without you saying, all the things, just you telling them that you're great and wonderful or what have you. So really put your clients in the seat for them to share how they've enjoyed working. If you're looking, if you're sourcing the PR help that you're looking for. And then when you're going through hiring the PR help, I always say context is currency. So really, when they say, I know a New York Times or a Washington Post or an NBC, really interview them on how well they know those contacts in there, or ask them to give examples of some of the pitching or the stories that they've done in those outlets, or the folks, like names of folks that they have worked with, reporters and producers and the likes. and share examples of some of the stories that they've pitched on behalf of clients. And then there are some, because of the relationships. I mean, I have relationships with a variety of news outlets for over 2 decades now. There are producers and reporters out there who have no problem giving a referral to, where, on your behalf. So, I have great relationships with, for example, the NBC team, NBC Universal. There are several news directors and producers where if I'm up for consideration for a piece of work, I've asked them and say, can you give a referral for how we've engaged together when I've pitched stories to you, how I've prepared my clients, how I carry myself when I'm on location with my clients, how I provided you all the materials and assets you need to run the story, meaning photos and B-roll, like how organized am I when you work with me? I think that will be helpful when you're vetting your PR partner and seeing if it's the right choice. And then the third thing I would say is making sure that I would say the reverse, where if I'm up in contention or up as a contender for work for a new client, it's okay to interview the client as well, because you really want to see it as a partnership. Yes, they're interviewing you, asking, pitching, and contacts, and earn your success. But it's okay if you're on the other, as a PR consultant, to interview them back and ask how organized they are. Do you envision your PR representation as a partner versus, quote, a vendor? Because I really hate that term vendor. That's something when I have a new engagement, I said, I am your partner. I am not an actor. Be like, I have a seat at the table at the beginning. So we don't get in trouble. We also understand what the strategy is, what our goals are. So that is understood. So have no problem, interviewing them back to see if it's a mutual fit.
And see, another thing that I appreciate about you is that you are a professional. I've come across those who have, how can I put this nicely, claim to work in PR, and when you're asking them these strategic questions, they don't have the answers someone like you just gave, like just understanding being organized, understanding that PR is not an afterthought, is something that should be always part of the strategy overall from start to finish. Like, for example, if you're doing a community event for, say, example, 10,000 people, PR should not come in at the tail end where you're about to launch in a month. They should be part of that discussion from start to finish. Same way with marketing. Sometimes we get in the room, we're like, you've been playing this since October and it's June.
Frustrating, right? It's so frustrating. And I try, when I tell, clients and, and just new engagements, it's like, think of it as your project team, whether it's an event or a campaign that we need to launch or a business, whatever. We have a project team on the ops side, on the tech side, because obviously you have technology, it has, the marketing side, the PR side. The project team has to be at the table from the beginning, period.
And it really helps because we can spot things that someone who doesn't have our strategic eye will see almost instantly, like, oh, I don't think you should put this tweet out there or this post out there because X, Y, and Z may be communicated wrong. There is a tweet that's making its rounds on the socials about a certain big box retailer. It's not Target, y'all. It's the other one.
Damn it.
We got to talk about it. But there was this tweet rolling out about them releasing a limited edition ice cream and product line for Juneteenth that has received a lot of responses.
Oh boy. I have a problem with that because Juneteenth is still fresh, right? We know what it is, obviously, but those brands that are turning it into a promotional sale or what have you without authentically doing the social responsibility that they should and educating what the day really means. I mean, there is so much that retailer, with so much power that retailer has, that they could have did this differently. Yeah, where to begin? I don't like brands who, I mean, this is not a fake it to make it kind of, kind of thing. You need to lean in hard and be authentic, and how they approached it is not okay. And if they rolled out a series of events, community events that educated, or did something online to, video campaign to educate people of what Juneteenth is, trivia, whatever, like anything that's not a sale, like be in the position to be a thought leader and subject matter expert, or try to be, or at least, versus a promotion. I think it's gross. That's just my, personal opinion. It's just not authentic.
And I agree with you, because this retailer, just in my experience with them, I shop at Target, let's just put it out there. This retailer has not had a good track record of supporting minority communities, in my opinion. And
Correct.
and also, when you look at brands like Target or Ulta, they've done the work in making sure they're being authentic in their messaging. Yeah, it just doesn't feel right to me. And also, it's kind of making, in my opinion, a mockery of the day, especially with Walmart being in a lot of middle America states where you don't have a lot of education about different ethnicity, I won't say holidays, but historical moments that are not talked about in our normal kindergarten through 12th grade.
100%. It could have been a teachable moment and we all know where this retailer resides, particularly in the Midwest and the lakes. And this could have been a huge opportunity to be a teachable moment, and use their platform for good. And folks that, so there's some folks that still don't understand what Juneteenth is, quite frankly, even though they really don't. So it's not 4th of July, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's not 4th of July where you're like, got it. I know what 4th of July is. I had experienced this last year when I was doing work around, people do not understand what it is. So
Yeah.
there's some work that needs to be done there. So don't just roll out with the sale on whatever, because that makes you look foolish. So
Speaking of that, as a Black woman, a woman of color, someone who I know personally has done the work in uplifting other women of color in your industry, do you think that there is room to create other opportunities, or really more opportunities, for Black and women of color to succeed in the industry?
as a woman of color in communication, I have found me to either be the only person in the room that looks like me. Certainly experienced a lot of the what I call typically hiring of a PR agency. I would love to see the shift where women-owned, minority-owned agencies are leading, or are the go-to for being their agency of record or their representation. And I want to see that like shift a little bit, where you're like, okay, we are we are contenders, but we are like serious contenders. And I think there's a huge growth. I'm seeing a little bit of it where folks are reaching out and wanting, women of color, communicators, PR support, and the likes. And I think the reason being is that folks are watching, right? Like, in a business where you tout diversity, you tout all this, a lot of noise, but no action. They want to make sure that you're speaking the truth throughout, from the vendors you select, being very thoughtful, to like your typical cookie cutter or whatever. But they really want to see real work of a nice, diverse portfolio of vendors, staff, what have you, in that. But I think there's absolutely room to create more opportunities. Tips I say is just to use your voice. I mean, I have no problem being bold and vocal when, to make my voice loud and heard, and recognized, especially if there's, issues that I don't agree with. I have no problem sitting on the other side of the table if I'm not supportive, but, definitely be known. in the room for sure.
I really agree with you on that. I'm in, oh my gosh, Maurisa, going on almost 10 years, officially 10 years in my industry. I did freelance work before. I like in fashion marketing before moving into like the corporate side of it. But I'm now becoming part of boards, which is so weird. I'm a
It's
board person.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I know. We're bored people.
We're
We are
bored
bored
people.
people.
But
Like, oh my goodness.
it's important to be part of these boards and be part of the committees that are really fueling the changes happening in our industry, because a lot of times we're the only voice that happens or that people hear when it's time to make a big decision, or maybe like a new internship program, who we should be reaching out to, given a different perspective. And I think a lot of times in our industries, people don't understand that there's an importance to advocacy in what we do, even though our industry is mainly creative and also a blend of strategic. We have to make sure that when we do get our seat at the table, we're pulling out the seat for the next leader to come up right behind us and mentoring as much as possible.
100%.
We're taking the marketing babies, we're giving them strategic advice and really helping them see their potential so they don't get pushed out of the industry due to frustration, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was a type where, I would be afraid to speak up or, rock the boat. And this was early on in my career. And clearly that is very different now. But, looking back when I was recently asked this question, what would you change? And it's your voice. I think now is the time, especially us women of color, to use our voice. Ask that tough question. Don't be afraid to, don't be quiet. Quiet is complacent, right? So if you want to ask for that board seat, if you want to ask for that position, if you want to be known as a partner, PR partner, communications partner, like if there is a void or if there is a want, ask. And just to see the reaction. And sometimes that's really tough to take that first step. And I'm in a comfortable skin now where I'm just like, I want this. And I'm just not afraid to ask anymore. You don't know the answer. It could be no, but, or yes, but not right now, or whatever. But some people just assume, oh, I'm not going to ask because I'm not going to be heard, or afraid to rock the boat. And we just can't think like that anymore.
I'm rocking the boat sometimes so hard. I'm like, just tip it over. If we have to tip it over and start over, it's fine. It's fine because it was sinking anyway. I just helped us along, you know? And I really do think that, like I mentioned with the marketing babies, a lot of times we'll get the educational requirements when we're in undergrad or graduate school, but we're not practicing those skills in real life. In your opinion, for those who are looking to break into the industry or really pivot from what they're doing right now to PR and communications, what kind of skills do you think that they should have? And they could be professional certifications. Like what do you think they should be doing to be the best?
Sure. So I'll say on the skill standpoint, and then I'll talk on like organization, kind of growth to career development standpoint. So on the skill standpoint, number one, writing. And I know I know that sounds very basic, but I also there is a concern that I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. Some of the younger generation is struggling with writing right now because we're all in text and emojis and things of that nature, and really learning how to write. And it's not just me saying this. I'm also hearing it from my peers on the news and media side where, there is a fall down on professional writing. And so, really onboarding how to write a press release, how to write a pitch email, just even a proper greeting, whatever. Second piece is what I say storytelling. We're going to pair with storytelling and attention to detail. So storytelling, understanding what makes a good story for the media or communicating and what does not. And so, I do a little exercise with some of my junior team on, when they sit on calls with clients, does this make a good story? Or, what do you think about that? Attention to detail, that is critical. It goes hand in hand, as important as writing. Follow up, You have to follow up with the writers and producers. Sometimes you have to make sure, like I went back when I mentioned about producer, talking with producers, like your outline when you have a TV segment or whatever, just attention to detail is super, super important as well. On the organization side, there's plenty of organizations. There's Public Relations Society of America, there's Washington Women in PR, Women of Color in Communications, which is ColorComm right now. There are a bunch where they have a bunch of programming to help you learn and understand and listen to industry leaders about what made them successful and grow.
And I'm glad you brought up the writing piece, because that is something when I first started out working for National Harbor, I admit, I used to have a blog a long time ago, but when I transitioned more into the professional side of it, I struggled with communicating my voice in a different way for the industry I was working with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I had to take my director at the time, again, hi Josh, recommended that I took a professional writing course, like a business writing course. And at first I was so mad at him for saying I needed to take this course. I was like, I know how to write. I don't need someone to teach me how to write. I used to have a blog. I'm Yvonne Pearson. But the moment I took that professional writing course, it shifted in my mind. It's like he was saying to me, you can write, but you're not using the right voice for what we need for this industry and who we're talking to.
Right. And my voice from my seat, for those that want to get in the PR world and think it's all, glam. And I always say it's grit and glam. Yes. It's like the dirty work. And then, yes, there is the nice shiny things, but I have to write voices for a variety of clients, right? I have like 10 voices sometimes a day I have to write for, because I got 10 clients or, what have you. So you have to learn to shift. And for those that want to work with an agency or even in-house, you have to understand that your voice for whatever you're writing has to shift. So you have to write well.
Yes, yes. And even from a marketing standpoint, marketing, as you know, is multi-pronged. And a lot of times we have to do social media content and copywriting for social media. And I tell people a lot that how you talk on your own personal platforms is not the same voice you should be using for a business or a client's platforms. A client may not want a bunch of emojis in their post. They want to probably just stick to business copy with a sprinkle of fun, but it takes time and training to figure that out. And I do wish, Maurisa, that the way we have professional writing courses, there should be copywriting courses for content creators who are looking
Agreed.
to branch into that business side. Because if you don't know how to tone your voice to the right audience, you could be messing up who they're talking to and helping, losing their followers at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, my voice to write something like, especially like for social media, like a voice for a cancer nonprofit, like the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, is going to be very different from the voice for the Tyson's Corner Center, right? For a shopping mall. So like it depends. Like you have to understand the voices have to be different, and also understand the audiences that are on there. And not be offended, and and be professional and all of that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and more importantly, slow down a little bit when you're creating this copy or even just writing a press release. Slow down, print it out. I'm a big printer. Kill the trees and then recycle them.
Yes, exactly. I will fully guilty. I got to print and I edit, and yeah, that works for me.
It works perfectly for me too. And speaking of knowing, how to get your seat at the table, but it's another thing we sometimes forget is knowing your worth, not just on a professional side, but financially when it's time to cut the check, as my sweatshirt says. It was recently Equal Pay Day, not too long ago, and a lot of people shared content or personal stories about why fairness and compensation is important. We know as women of color, we do make less money. I think it's about 60 cents on the dollar compared to others. And just to be transparent, they need to run me my check. But have you ever struggled with charging what you're worth? And then for those who are coming up in the industry, how can other professionals calculate their rate to make sure they're securing the bag and cutting the check?
Sure, absolutely. Early on, when I decided to go on my own, I was very nervous about where to set my rates, and also think that back then I was already 20 years, out. I already had 2 decades of work experience for going out in 2008. So it was really hard to set your price and like basically wait for someone to say no or yes, or see if it's fair. Um, Depending upon your years of experience in the field, it is helpful to do some research on uh, what others that we say like comps, right? We always have, what are the comps around you based upon your years of experience of those that go out on their own, and that helped me with a baseline of making sure, okay, I'm in line. The rates are in line. They're not too low. They're not too high, because I try to be respectable, and also understanding the type of businesses too that I was going after, nonprofits, small businesses at the time, which aren't going to pay the super crazy high, agency rate. They just want good, body of work and someone, that will deliver that. So when you set your rates, understand the type of audience that the client base that you want, that is going to be your bread and butter, and as well as calculate based on your years of experience in this field, and do that research of who around you and their rates. But then also highlight what you get for your investment. And I outline, not only my experience but also my list. Again, contacts is capital, right? That's currency. Contacts are currencies, so they're not going to have that access to certain folks without going through me. And they're not going to want to, they don't have the time or the effort to figure out research who to like. So your writing skills, your access to people, your ability for people to literally pick up the phone when you call them, like people answer the phone because I'm calling them, and they're interested, your level of influence as a whole. So highlight, and I do that in my proposals, like here's what you're getting for your investment. And that helps tremendously. And don't be afraid to say no. If you're like, here's my rate, I'm at a point in my career, I'm like, this is my rate, and I'm totally fine if you can, like saying no thank you if you're trying to lowball. And I think that also sets up the level of exclusivity, sets you up as an exclusive person, that you're not just going to take anything just because you need to eat. But there's others that I've clearly turned down and said no thank you and kept it moving, and don't feel guilty about that.
And I appreciate you saying that, because I think it's on both sides. Speaking from the marketing side, we struggle with people seeing the value in what we do. Like, they want all these things, they want the buffet, but they can only afford the appetizer. And we're like,
Right.
hey, you know, I
Right.
understand you want the buffet, but the appetizer is all you can afford. So this is the rate for the appetizer. And it kind of like, sometimes you have to find that middle ground with the client. Like, look, if you want this, I can do this for this rate, but I'm not doing more than that, because
Right.
then I'm working for free afterwards.
And don't be afraid if they start itching, extra work keeps adding on, just kind of sneaking in, and don't be afraid to be like, be like, nope, not part of the scope of work. However, if you want that, it's going to cost you X amount. So again, going back to using your voice and setting those boundaries and setting those ground rules, so you've set the tone straight out of the gate.
Exactly. And I think I'm learning that more and more, because, when I take on freelance work, I love working with small business owners, as you know, Maurisa, and then working with like nonprofits. It's like kind of my way of giving back to the community. But one of the things that
Sure.
people don't realize that marketing professionals do, when you have an on-site event, we're the people who are directing your photographer of, what pictures to take. We're the person working with your social media coordinator to make sure that they are capturing the right information for social. And it's the behind the scenes work that I don't think people realize that we do, that makes everything come to life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is a way we carry ourselves. Again, relationships matter, connections matter. And if you're misbehaving, you're going to cut yourself off with a quickness. So
Yeah. And also, that in our industry, sometimes people can catapult to the top and making millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars within their first year of launching, but what I respect about you is that you share with me that you built your company years before you started working for yourself full time while you were still working for other people. In your opinion, why do you think it takes longer for women of color to fully jump into entrepreneurship or build their platforms high enough where they can have the option of walking away if they want to?
I have two reasons or two thoughts on that. Number one, because I hear it all the time when I'm asked for advice or counsel. Um, One, the reason why it takes longer, number one, the fear to jump, quite frankly. It's terrifying. It really is. And I'm someone that's OCD type A, needs to make sure my check, I get my check every 2 weeks, corporate mentality for quite some time. Um, and it's the fear to jump. And that is a real fear. I just had this conversation recently about someone that is trying to go on her own, and she goes, "I'm just afraid. I'm afraid to fail." And you just can't be, and you have to take that leap somewhere and see where it takes you. And the second one is the fear to share your idea of starting a new business, because there's this fear folks might think, oh, that's foolish, or why are you starting your own business? Oh, that's so hard. It's all that negative energy that just kind of chips at your ear, which holds you back. And you have to have that mindset to break through and be committed and power through and just kind of flush that noise when it starts bubbling up, and you feel afraid to share your idea. I think those I see that I hear that all the time. I jumped during the middle of another crisis situation, which was 2008 during the financial recession. And I had a newborn at home. And people thought I was crazy. They're like, you're jumping and starting a business. Do you know what's going on with the world right now with the financial recession? And I sent an email saying I'm making a new chapter. I'm going to start my own business. And I used my network again, contacts as currency, and said, if you have any marketing or communication projects that you need support with, let me know. And within 4 days after I sent that email, I had my first engagement. So you got to start. And those are the two things I hear over and over again, is the fear to jump or the fear to share your idea that you're starting a new business.
So many gems in this episode. I, for example, started Pink Dollhouse Marketing because I was overlooked for a promotion multiple times at an employer, eons ago. And I had this blog that I've been doing for a number of years post college, because during the recession, I could not find a job in my industry at all. Working full time in retail, doing a lot of freelance work, air quotes on the free, because I was not getting paid. But I decided to turn my blog into a business when people kept asking me more for, marketing help. And you're absolutely right. It does take time to take that leap. I think a lot of times we forget that we bring value to the table as well, and we don't have to just sit on the sidelines giving other people our brilliance when we could just be doing it ourselves and get all of the credit instead of just a percentage of it.
And it was amazing how people are like, oh, that's great, you're out on your own, I'm not working for a quote unquote employer anymore. They could hire me for their own services. And it worked out that I at the time had a newborn, I had Derek at home, and I still could make some money. And also the freedom and flexibility now of making my own schedule. And fast forward, I now have the freedom and flexibility not only to still make my own schedule, but also be selective on the types of work that I want to work on. And if it's not filling my cup, or if it's more of a pain in the ass, then I'm not gonna accept it. So you just have to not be afraid to jump. 'Cause you don't know where, you just gotta go.
Yeah, and I really think that you have been strategic in how you built your business. Clearly, you have a great reputation across the DMV area because whenever I bring up your name, people instantly just smile when they hear your name.
Oh,
So I was like, yeah, Maurisa, Spotted PR. They're like, oh yeah, we know Maurisa. And and in everything that you're doing, because I see you on my social media feed going up and down the East Coast or the DMV doing great work. What's next for Maurisa and Spotted MP? Is there merch? Because that phrase you kept saying the episode, I feel like I should be wearing it or like have it like somewhere in my hand or what's next for you? What are we doing?
do I need to make Spotted MP merch? I didn't even thought about. I did make pens. I do have Spotted MP pens. That was my first promo thing, but I'll have to come up with some kitschy merch. Now you've got my wheels spinning. Honestly, right now is I want to continue to stay in my lane and do good work and be my authentic self. For those that follow me on social, they know I always keep it real. That's just kind of my mantra. You see, my family life, you see my professional life, you see my outside interest. And I really think it has helped me in being very open and real about who I am. From as a businesswoman, but as a mom and a wife, it's helped, especially for my clients, to really understand who I am and how I operate, and my personality. So I don't like playing dual personalities, my business personality and my outside. I was raised, what you see is what you get. And, some people are going to be your people and some are not, and that's okay. But I really, just to continue to do great work for my amazing clients. I'm not trying to take over the world, not just yet, but
That it's a very authentic answer because some people are like, I have this, and this outline, but sometimes you're just rolling. You're just rolling with the
I
flow
just
and see where
rolling.
it
And
goes.
honestly, this whole pandemic, which is really weird because I'm usually like, in 5 years, I want to be, but the pandemic's honestly squashed that. That's why I was like, whatever rolls, rolls, and whatever's meant to be in your life will roll into your life. And if it's not, that's okay. So that's kind of how I am at the moment.
Yes, I agree. I tell people, really my mom, I'm operating on a no plan, if that makes sense.
Right. Right. You remember the days where they're like the 5-year strategic plan?
Oh,
Oh
it's
my
out.
God, now it's done.
It's
It's
out.
done. It's no more. There is no more. There's a 3 to 6 month strategic plan, maybe a year, at least with my clients right now. Because God forbid if we have another,
Shut down. Yeah. I can't
another
do it
like
no
world
more.
event. I
Yeah,
can't deal.
I
I just
can't.
can't
I
deal.
can't. I'm tired. I'm tired. But
I'm tired.
Maurisa, like now that we got the main questions out the way, this is the fun part. So we
Oh,
put our notes away. We can kind of like, relax a little bit for the quick fire questions. This is top of the dome, mind you.
all right. Got it.
You got it? Okay.
I got it. Ready.
If you were a superhero, what powers would you have?
One, I would like resilience. I love, in spite of averse, competing, dealing with challenges and in certain situations. So I would say resilience, like, would be one of my superpowers. And the second one, I like to observe, and I think that speaks so much with obviously being a communication professional, where if it's a crisis situation or a general campaign or whatever, I like to listen to what the situation is and then act, versus a fire drill. So I'd say resilience and observation would be my two superpowers.
Those are good superpowers, honestly. It's giving very Captain America or more Marvel because she's the OG, like kind of vibes. I like that. I like that.
And when needed, what is it? Disappearing, like vanishing. When
Like,
people are just really driving me crazy, yeah, I like to hit a button and just like disappear and be like, I can't, like, or timeout button. There, yeah. Is that a superpower timeout button for those
it
that
should be like
misbehave?
pausing the world. Like, okay, I've had enough. Pause. Okay, I
I
left.
want that button. I want that button. So yeah, I want the timeout button for those that are misbehaving. So
Well, if we're thinking about like superheroes, so okay, you would be a combination of observe, You said the pause, timeout button, and the first one was what again?
Resilience.
Resilience. So you really would kind of have like a Teflon skin, because resilience, you need to be tough. Observing, you would kind of have like that panel X-ray vision where you could kind of see out into everything, or like see in your mind's eye. And then the timeout will be like pausing or freezing time, to stop
Yes.
the world before something like
Yes.
drastic happens or something.
That would be perfect. I would love all those superpowers, please.
And now for my next question. Okay, it is date night with the hubby. You look fantastic as you always do. What song or rap would you just body at karaoke night?
Baby, I'm a star.
Oh,
right.
I don't know it. Hold on, let me look it up on my phone. What song is it? My mom's gonna be so upset. She's gonna be so upset. I don't know
the movie. It's from Purple Rain, the movie. It's a very upbeat, and also I used to dance to it because I was on dance team. So it's a very like upbeat dance song. Totally could karaoke that out, and it's just a fun song. So Prince, Baby I'm a Star. Yeah, Prince's song Baby I'm a Star from Purple Rain.
Our song my mom and I love is Kiss. Like yeah, we love that song so much. It's ridiculous. So I'll give you that.
Put up Prince Baby I'm a Star, and it's very fast, but it's
okay.
It puts me in a good mood. I like it.
And then finally, if you were a coffee, because this is Coffee with Yvonne, what kind of coffee would you be? What is Maurisa's blend?
Smooth, rich, and strong. Mic drop. Mic drop.
Mic drop. Smooth, rich, and strong. I love that. That's actually appropriate. Very appropriate. Yes.
Too. Smooth, rich, and strong. I see. That should be my shirt. There you go. That's
smooth, rich, and strong.
Yeah. I can. That's the new merch. I'll do that for you. So smooth, rich, and strong. People are like, who is this woman?
Well, thank you so much, Maurisa, for joining me for coffee. How can people find out more about you and your business, like the socials, all the good stuff? Tell them about you.
Sure. So my website is spottedmp.com, and MP obviously stands for Marketing and Public Relations, but obviously my initials, so it's a little branding nod. And then my social Instagram is MTPots, where you get all the fun family, business, my crazy side, all on Instagram. You can take through my life. It's a reality show on Instagram, which that's what people enjoy apparently. So there you go.
Yeah, they enjoy a good reality show. Just don't end up on the Shade Room. That's the only thing you do not want.
Yeah, not the shade. No, I'm just fun. I get known as like the favorite Instagram page, which is nice. It's great. And
yeah,
just, keep it real. Yeah, no drama.
Just good reality, not the other stuff.
Good reality and good reality. So,
well, Maurisa, I hope to see you very soon. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Hugs. Thank you so much. I appreciate you dearly.
Coffee with Yvonne is produced and edited by Yvonne Pearson. Coffee with Yvonne is created by Pink Dollhouse Marketing. You can catch the latest episodes by subscribing to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.